A lot has happened over the past couple of days, specifically when it comes to used RV loans. So if you're planning on buying a used travel trailer, motorhome, toy hauler, fifth wheel, etc., here in 2024, this is the right video for you. Welcome to HB RV Lifestyle. They call me the Honey Badger because I give it to you straight and transparent about the RV business. And today we are going to cover all of those changes, the ones that have already occurred, plus those occurring in the very near future. If this is the first time you have seen one of my videos, I have 15 years of experience at an RV dealership doing just about every job you can think of, cleaning them, fixing them, getting loans for them, managing, service manager, etc. Okay. Now, where we need to start is how a lender looks at the value of an RV, because then the rest of the changes, all the changes become very easy. Now, quick disclaimer, because I know a lot of people get mad at me when I do these type of videos, okay? I am not here to tell you what you think your value should be of your RV. All I'm simply here to do is give accurate information to help people make purchases and sell their current RV or purchase a used one. Okay, that's all I'm here for. So if you think I'm trying to bash you because you mark all the options on JD Power and that's what you think the value is, I'm not here to do that. I'm just here to share information, okay? So that being said, there is a free bookout sheet by JD Power that everybody has access to for free. You put in a zip code, you can add all the options. It gives you two retail values, a low retail and a high retail, right? Okay. Then there is the wholesale book, which is what lenders and dealers use. So like most credit unions, all of the banks, most lending institutions use the wholesale book, which has to be paid for amongst other things in order to access. Okay. Now, I have kind of a riddle with it. I say there's the pretend book and then there's the lending book. See how I kind of made a rhyme there? Okay. And that's not to bash anybody, but realistically, that retail book where you add all the options is really useless when it comes to getting a loan on an RV. It can give you kind of an idea of what you should pay for a unit, cash, but realistically, when it comes to loans, they get looked at differently. So when we book out a travel trailer or a motorhome on the wholesale book, we don't add every single option to determine the value. So let's say that the wholesale book out sheet is $10,000. What most lenders will let us do is add 10% on top of that value for what they call allowable adds. So if I take 10,000 and I times it by 110%, most lenders will consider the wholesale or trade-in value to be $11,000. Now, in most cases, a bank will let you borrow up to 120% of that $11,000. This is our first change. They are now at a point where when the RV is more than 4 or 5 years old, they are only doing 100% of wholesale value or less, even with outstanding credit. That's right. So realistically, you could have perfect credit. You're buying an 8-year-old travel trailer. They're only going to give you 100% of the wholesale value or less. And here's the reason why. The reason why is because the JD Power wholesale book has dropped off a cliff over the past 3 months. Okay, so March 1st, I'll give you an example. March 1st, 2024, a lot of the trade-ins I took in 4 months ago lost God, 20%, 25% of their value in a snap of their finger. So what lenders are trying to do is prevent what happened in 2008, 9, and 10, where they were giving such extended loans earlier in the 2000s. And now they're trying to go, you know what, that doesn't look good because the book value just dropped off a cliff. Now, if it's newer, let's say it's 2 or 3 years old, they're going to 110, 115%. And that's a little more, reasonable, obviously. But again, less than what they normally have been doing on, let's say, let's just say normally from like a couple years ago, right? So normally they let you borrow 120 to 130% of that value that they placed on it. If it's, let's say, 5 years or newer, they now have cut it back to, let's say, 110%. Okay, now this is a guideline. Will they make exceptions off and on? Yes, of course. I've always seen exceptions happen, but exceptions are never the rule. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, that part means that dealerships, sellers of all kinds, including private party sellers, are going to have to start being more flexible about their pricing. Okay, so this may seem like a bad thing for the buyers, okay, but the reality is that it's actually beneficial to the buyers because it has now made it an even more of a buyer's market. So because of the depressed values that have been occurring because of the drop off in what we consider the wholesale value of RVs in general, it has caused basically the banks to back off, which means that dealerships and private party sellers are going to have to start rethinking what they're going to sell their used for. Here's a great example. I sold a couple of travel trailers in March that were used that I lost money on because I took them in for more money, let's say 4 or 5 months ago, and because of the drop off in the value, I could not get the loans for them. So I had one travel trailer, I was in $16,000. When I took it in trade, the book value was $15,500. So I was in it right, comparatively speaking. But because of the value drop, watch this. The max loan I could get anybody to pick up was $12,000. So for me to get to 15 grand plus tax, I need somebody with a third down. Who's going to put a third down on a cheap trailer? Most of the time, the reason why you buy used is because you have a smaller down payment and you have a smaller monthly payment budget than what you can afford new or want to afford new. For some people, it's just, hey, I don't ever buy anything new. Philosophy. But the majority of people, the reason why they get a loan on a used RV is because new ones are outside of the realm of possibility. So they want to be able to use it. They don't want to just make a monthly payment and never use it, right? Okay. That brings me to the second change. The second major change is the fact that interest rates on older used RVs have skyrocketed. So if you're buying something older, let's say 5 years old or older, even with outstanding credit, you're talking 10, 11% interest minimum. Whether you go through your own credit union, whether you go through a bank at a dealership, no matter what the case may be, in that moment, at that time, interest rates are going to be a lot higher. The separation has really began. So let's say you're going and buying a brand new motorhome. Okay, brand new motorhomes, you're talking about rates at 7.74, 7.99 with really good credit. You go buy an 8-year-old motorhome, that interest rate now is going to go up to like 9.99 to 11.99. That's kind of what you're looking at right now. Okay, so now that seems astronomical, but when you actually do the math, you're still saving a lot more money than if you bought a new one, right? Okay. A lot of people disagree with me in the comments. I understand that. But just based on my experience, you're still saving a bunch of money. And let's remember something, folks. You can always refinance these things when the rates go down in about a year or two. I think by summer of 2026, you should be able to refinance them and save yourself a bunch of money. This is a great opportunity for everybody. Yes, interest rates are higher. Yes, the loans are being squeezed. But this is an excellent opportunity to get a great price on a used RV and refinance it and get a lower rate and a shorter term to pay it off quicker in about 2 years. Okay, which brings me to number 3. They are starting to shrink the terms, specifically on older used RVs. Okay, and older in a bank's mind and lender's mind is 5 years old or older. Here's a good example. Okay, you're going to go buy a 9-year-old motorhome. It fits within your price budget. Let's say your price budget is $40,000 and you found this 9-year-old motorhome, low mileage, everything looks good, everything looks great. But you start calculating everything at a 15-year loan. Oh, I could get a 15-year loan on a $40,000 motorhome. Well, no, because it's 9 years old, they're going to shrink that term down to 10 years. Okay, so just keep in mind, those longer term loans are in general set up for either really high dollar amount diesel pushers, luxury fifth wheels, or for a lot newer units. So I used to get 20-year loans on $200,000 used motorhomes, no problem. But when it comes to those $30,000, $40,000 used motorhomes, they generally are too old to finance a lot of times. And when you can get them financed, they're on a shorter term. Okay, so if you're here's one of my recommendations. If you are looking for a Class C motorhome, okay, as an example, this is the most common thing I've run into so far, and your budget is $30,000 because you're looking for, let's say, a $250 payment, you're going to have to wait a while. You probably need to rethink maybe a travel trailer or maybe you just pay cash, which you rarely ever hear me say that, because a $30,000 Class C motorhome generally is going to be either too old to finance or it's just on the cusp, but they're going to shrink the term and raise the interest rate. So the rule of thumb, guys, is if you're looking for a used RV, there are 3 things that I recommend. Number 1, go to your credit union. Okay? Go to your local credit union, not your local bank, local credit union, because most banks don't do RV loans. Wells Fargo doesn't, Chase doesn't, etc. So if you have Navy Federal, USAA, whoever it may be, go get a pre-approval on a 10-year-old unit. Get a 10-year-old interest rate, a 10-year-old term, and then see how they perceive their value to be. Maybe they say, we'll do 80% of retail book. Maybe they'll tell you, well, it depends on the unit. Get me the unit and I'll tell you what I'll lend on it. Get that pre-approval process really tightened up and tightened down. Okay? Because if you tighten that down, that will really help you out in your shopping experience, whether you're buying a private party or you're buying from a dealer. Okay? The second thing you can really do is don't wait because you think things are going to loosen up in the future. Okay? If interest rates start going down, I should say when interest rates start going down and the economy starts getting better, people are going to charge more money for things. Okay? Remember what I've been saying. If you've been a fan of the channel for a while, I've been saying for a long time, this is a buyer's market. Okay? When rates and stuff go down, it's going to go like this. Prices are going to go up, interest rates are going to go down, and you're going to miss out on the opportunity. Okay. Now, if you're purely an interest rate buyer, hey, wait. But if you're anywhere close to a price buyer and you want a really good deal, then just make sure you're ready to pull the trigger, right? Be mindful and be ready to make that move. Don't just shop and shop yourself to death. Be prepared to pull the trigger, no matter what. You know, of course, have it inspected and things like that. I'm not saying go rush and give the people all the money, but give them to, it's a dealership or private party, give them a little deposit. Say, hey man, I got my loan set up. I want to have it third party inspected or whatever the case may be, and go do your thing. And the third thing I really recommend to everybody, okay, is have a good down payment. Okay. Now I understand when you're buying a travel trailer that's like 15, 16 grand, you don't want to put like 9 grand down. No. But, have 3 grand, have 20 to 25% cash down to make the lending process easier. Okay. That's the best thing to do, because part of it, especially if you buy private party and your state charges sales tax and fees, you want to make sure you have that in cash. You don't want to pay fees to the government with a credit card. Okay, so if you have the hard cash down and you buy it from a private party, you could take part of it and apply it to the loan, and part of it and apply it to your taxes and your fees that you may or may not have. If you're buying it from a dealership, you give them the full down payment because they'll already have the taxes and fees, the majority of them already in the deal. Okay. Now, the really interesting thing, though, is I go into more detail about how to finance older RVs in this video right here.